Good morning, everybody. Welcome back for installment of Scott Selections here for Sunday, November 13th. For again today's play of the day, quick recap of what happened yesterday. We had a pretty awful day, starting off with the U2 play in basketball. Had a loss with the 76ers and Hawks under 221.5 at minus 110 on BetMGM. Wasn't that close. First half was very high scoring, unlike the previous matchup. Embiid went nuts, had 40 plus points, and the game ended up landing, I believe it was 230 on the dot, so picked up a loss there. Then for the college football show, did not do well either. Ended up going 1-2 there. Had Baylor running line to minus 134 on FanDuel. Completely no-showed their home game against Kansas State. Embarrassing showing there. Then we have Florida State minus 7 at minus 107 on Bet Online. They blew out Syracuse. Syracuse no-showed their home game, and Florida State won that game by 30 plus. Then we had San Jose State minus 2.5 at minus 115 on DraftKings. Look good early. They led 14-0, I believe, about 5 minutes into the game, and then got smacked from that point forward. So ended up going 1-2 in college football for negative 1.07 units. Overall, went 1-3 for negative 2.07 units. Bad overall day. Look for a bounce back winning day here on Sunday. And for today's play, they're going to go back to the NFL. We'll get a matchup, or I should say a couple matchups in a teaser. We're going to look at the Chiefs, and we're going to look at the Niners. We're going to tease that down 6 points on DraftKings. So we're going to tease the Chiefs from minus 8.5 to minus 2.5. We're going to tease the Niners from minus 7.5 to minus 1.5. And that two-pick teaser pays out at minus 120 on DraftKings. Time recording of 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Couple reasons why I like the Chiefs. I'll go in order. Why I like the Chiefs to get the job done pretty easily against Jacksonville. First reason, even though Jacksonville did win last week, it really struggled for a decent portion of the game as the Jaguars did trail by 17. And then McDaniels happened and the Raiders choked the game away. But Jacksonville's pass defense has been pretty awful lately. And I think that Mahomes, after going for roughly 400 passing yards the week prior, should be basically able to just torch this defense whenever he wants. And I do think the Chiefs will be motivated for this game after that borderline no-show against the Titans last week. They did win the game, but the Titans were using a backup quarterback that really couldn't throw the ball, and yet the Chiefs still needed a come-from-behind touchdown drive at the end with a two-point conversion and had to go to overtime. The Chiefs didn't exactly play well in that game, and I do think Andy Reid will get his team fired up for this matchup to get back on the right foot. But you're also going to have to look at the actual travel spot for the Jaguars, and anytime you have a warm weather team traveling to a cold weather city, it tends to not work out in their favor. And the Jaguars, of course, are traveling from Florida, and they played in Florida last week against the Raiders. However, now they're traveling to Kansas City, and it's supposed to be 40-degree weather with a little bit of wind. I don't exactly trust the Jaguars to travel well. I think that the Chiefs are going to be more comfortable with the overall weather. They're going to be the much better team because the Jaguars aren't very good, and the Chiefs are arguably the best team in the league. So I think the Chiefs should look comfortable at home in front of the crazy crowd there at Arrowhead, and I think they'll win this game by at least probably 4 points or more, maybe 7 and change. But I do think 2.5 is a safe way of going about it. So I will take that as the first leg of the teaser. And the second leg is going to be the Sunday night game. And I'm going to take the 49ers minus 1.5. And a couple reasons why I like the Niners in the spot. First reason, the Niners are off a bye, and I do trust Shanahan to have a good game plan in store. And the bye was very important because the Niners were able to get a lot of guys back who missed the last game because of injury, and a lot of key pieces. Deebo Samuel is back. Trent Williams, one of the best offensive linemen in the league, is back. And Kyle Juszczyk is back, and we know that he's the best fullback in the league, who definitely helps the overall rushing attack. They're also getting Elijah Mitchell back, who's going to be more of a backup running back, but definitely going to help the actual running back depth, just in case you have to take McCaffrey out for a snap or two here and there for rest. But unlike the Niners, the Chargers are very injured, and they're getting basically nobody back. They're still missing Joey Bosa, still missing Mike Williams, still missing Keenan Allen, still missing Rashawn Slater, and still missing J.C. Jackson. So they're missing their arguably best defensive lineman, their top 2 receivers, one of their best offensive linemen, and their best corner. And they're facing off against the Niners team that can run it down their throats, which is going to be an issue because the Chargers are allowing 145.5 rushing yards per game, which is the 4th most in the league. This team can't stop a nosebleed on the ground, and I do think the Niners should be able to dominate up front, especially with Trent Williams back in the lineup. So I'm not exactly sure how the Chargers are supposed to keep this game truly close. The Niners are the deeper team, the more talented team, and even though the Chargers have the better record technically because they are 5-3, if you look at the opponents they've beaten a bunch of nobodies, and I do think they're one of the most fraudulent teams in the league. To go through their overall wins, they have 5 of them. They beat the Raiders in week 1. Raiders turned out to be terrible. Beat the Texans, they stink. Beat the Browns, not very good. Beat the Broncos, not very good. And beat the Falcons, not very good. They haven't beaten anybody. And I do think you're going to end up seeing them struggle against an elite team when fully healthy on Sunday night. And I do think the Niners will be able to dominate up front. and be able to force Herbert to making some mistakes along the way since he's missing a bunch of receivers. But I do think at the end of the day, this 2-pick teaser is definitely a pretty safe way to approach 2 favorites that should end up covering probably the regular spread. But just in case, the NFL can be a little bit weird at times. And I do think that taking this shorter version is definitely a safer way to secure a minus 120 profitable bet. So once again, the 2-pick 6-point teaser on NFL Sunday is going to be the Chiefs minus 2.5 and the Niners minus 1.5 at minus 120 on DraftKings. Bye, everyone.